good evening, good night, good morning. Hello, fans out there. I have to say we've been getting a lot of love from fans and less hate and less trolleration.
Oh, that's good.
Yes, and I have to say thank you all for you've been letting us feel that we're doing a good product, and I just want to say thank you before we go anywhere. And welcome to podcast number 23.
We're getting old.
I know.
Getting old.
We're getting old.
Time for
And I just
time for dull clocks.
Oh Lord.
I don't think I'm that old yet. I don't think I'm that old yet. I'm just that kind of old where I'm sipping on Merlot every once in a while. But I was struggling to find a name for today's podcast. You know what? I just went with the obvious. Roger and Serena. Win Cincy again. That's all I gotta say. And that's a good.
Yay!
That's a good day in my tennis book.
Are you going to introduce us?
Oh, wait. You see, all of us.
The podcast is oldie but goodie.
Like that. You know what? That's a good one. That's a good one. You
Oldies
know what?
but goodies.
Yes. As always, I didn't forget to introduce you.
Oh, sorry. I was rushing, I guess.
This foreign correspondent. All of a sudden, she got a foreign assignment. Okay.
I think I'm going to pick up an accent as well.
You probably should. You probably should. And without further ado, let's introduce Janina, our foreign correspondent who traveled the length and breadth of Ohio. And her
Cheerio!
She's back from Cincinnati, folks. And as always, we have Andrine from Sony Tennis Travel. Don't worry, folks. She will be traveling soon. Don't worry. So, don't think she doesn't go out.
I know, with travel in my name.
And as always, Bridge P. I'm Karen from the Spin overhead.
Ball to the world!
And apparently, I'm known as this guy. There are 3 women.
We've got Karen, Andrine, and Janina, and some guy whose name we don't know.
Yeah, there's some guy.
I love it.
It's reals, okay, people. It's reals. Like, you know what? I would always take the backseat to these 3 lovely ladies because what? We're a feminist.
Oh, that's how to do it. That's how to do it.
I can't do it alone. I cannot do it alone. Like Diva Dow says, I respect women. My friends are female. I like.
I love when he starts to say serious things.
I know. I'm taking the Diva Dow feminist approach.
I want to
I know women. Thus I am feminist.
Oh my goodness.
So let's get into the tea. So in my opinion, the U.S. Open Series has officially ended. I don't care where you're gonna be, U.S. Salem or Haven.
Salem is still going on.
Whatever.
No, you know what? No, it has to be taken seriously. Do you know why?
No.
Because I'm gonna give you the straight tea.
I know why.
Because if Halep plays one match there, she is now in the lead to win the bonus at the U.S.
Well,
Open.
she's withdrawn, so that has now become.
Oh, darn it!
Darn
it!
You know what? Pliskova has already played 3 events.
Oh.
Yeah,
You know what?
and she hasn't done jack shit, just like she has done jack shit this year.
Well,
there you go.
You think about it. These premier events, Montreal and Toronto, Canada and Cincinnati, are where the bulk of the points are. She only got 45 points, I think, to get into the final of Stanford, and I don't think she did anything else elsewhere. Much significant. But if she plays New Haven and wins, which is gonna be 70 points, they double that shit, and she's gonna be 100, 200, 260. I don't know why this doubling points bullshit for playing 3 events. It's ridiculous.
It's to help everyone. It's to help to make sure that people show up at these events.
Yeah, it's totally all about
That's
showing
a little
up.
perk.
That's it. Nothing else.
Oh, the U.S. Open Series.
That makes absolutely no sense because these scrubs who then get to double their points for showing up 3 places, no one is gonna see these asses at the U.S. Open. We're not seeing them.
Well, Andy Murray's in the lead for the men's side.
Well, Andy Murray is happy. Well,
Andy Murray has clinched the U.S. Open Series, hasn't
Yeah.
he?
Oh, has he?
Yes, he has. Yes, he
Hey,
has.
well on, Andy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
because
don't think Isner has any shot, right? I don't know.
No, he
No.
doesn't.
Yeah. So there
but
you go.
did Andy Murray got points? Oh, I guess he got a buy-in since he in the City Open, so therefore he got some points.
Well, he had points for winning in Montreal, and
Right.
then he got to the semis here. So he's pretty much
He's-
locked it up because none of the
Yes.
other guys played any.
Well, and you know
Well,
what?
no,
He needs that extra $1 million. He just got married,
There
so
you go, kitties
Ah,
and babies on the way.
baby's
and his
on the
wife
way.
is having,
on the
and
way,
his
yep.
wife is having a baby. His wife is having.
That's
No,
right.
I,
His
Yes.
wife.
I said one was on the way. I didn't say he had anything to do with it.
Oh, no, I'm just clarifying. I'm just clarifying.
Yes.
In case
That's
Karen
right.
that tried to get down my throat.
Don't get it twisted.
Yeah, don't get it twisted. Yeah.
I guess that's true since this vagina has never seen a baby. So let's.
And I don't have one, so I'm not even gonna be mad. So, Janina, as our forest correspondent, you are back from Cincy Open. You're all burnt and toasted.
I
Did
I have a tan. My white girlfriends are no longer the same color as me. Anyone who knows me in real life knows that's kind of a big deal. I'm quite fair. But overall, Cincinnati was good. It was good. It has gotten a lot bigger,
Yeah.
and I could
Bigger,
feel
better,
it.
It's big.
Just I feel like the first year that I attended was the first year that it was an ATP and a WTA event.
Okay.
So it wasn't so big because, the women and the men always went there, but it was a separate event. Men were 1 week, women were another week. So my first year, everybody was there, and it was almost kind of like people didn't know that's what was happening. So
Yep. No, it
people
was
didn't
intimate.
flock
It was
there.
intimate.
Yeah.
Intimate.
So it was way more intimate, and I just felt like I felt like over the years it has grown, but I crunched some numbers today because I just felt like it was so
Wow.
big.
A round of applause.
You do.
I'll tell you, this foreign correspondent is getting.
We needed to we had to give her a title. There you go.
Exactly.
I love it. I love it.
So from the first year that I went, which yeah, so I didn't actually check that part out. I think the first year that it was men's and women's was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe 4 or 5 years ago. But the overall attendance numbers for the week were 175,000, or no, 174,000 is what they were. This past week, it was 199,000, and it was up 8,000 people from last year, and you could just feel it. There were, the busiest days are always, 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 over the years that I've been there, Tuesday, Wednesday. And I think that's just people being smart about when they want to go. Because if someone plays deep in Canada, you don't want to go right at the beginning. If it's, if one of your favorites is a Rafa, a Nole, a Federer, Serena, Sharapova, whoever, if it's a top gun that's going to go deep in the tournament before, they're not going to be there on Sunday, Monday. So the crowds really come on Tuesday, Wednesday, and you feel it. And this year I felt like I can't fucking move. And it's already hot enough, and then you've got all the damn body heat. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm dying.
People who's rolled on, rolled off, and
people stink. I'm telling you, there is no way around being out in the hot, beating sun for 12 hours. You're not fresh at the end of the day. It ain't happening.
And add to that steel alcohol all over your body pouring.
Right? No, it's gotten bigger, and you feel that it's gotten bigger. It's still a great tournament for player access. It is not as good as it used to be. This year, I feel like in previous years, one of the most amazing things about Cincinnati are watching practices. And I've never been to another tournament, but from talking to people who have, everyone is just amazed at how open practice sessions are. Now, they're still open, but I feel like this year there are certain courts where you can surround them on 3 or 4 sides, and there are certain courts where you can be on one side. And it seems like in previous years when Nadal or Serena or Federer, not Djokovic, he always seemed to be on one of the, I don't know, maybe it's a preference, always seemed to be on a court where you only can see from one side. But the other big names, I feel like always were on a place where, because they, the tournament knows that they're going to draw really big crowds. And I feel like they were placed on courts accordingly, and I didn't feel that this year. It was hell. Like, I did not do practices, and that's always one of my most favorite moments in Cincinnati, is to just sit back and watch them practice and see, how they get on and what they do, and not be so serious, and you kind of get to see the personality of the player a little bit more. But I couldn't do it because it was always this small court, and then you've got angry people. I've been sitting here for 3 hours waiting for Andy Murray, and you think you're going to stand in front of me? Well, yeah, because that's the way it works. Because you know what? I'm sorry that you came at 2, and now it's 5, and everybody, the one great thing about Cincinnati is there's these digital boards all over the grounds that tells you what's going on.
Oh, okay. Same thing at the U.S. Open.
Yeah, it tells you, this person's going to be on practice court, whatever, matches on this court at this time. So, people flock, and they go to where they want to go. But it just wasn't. I noticed in front of, there's always fences around the court, but I noticed that it said no standing, like right on the fence. I've watched many practices of many different players and always been right on the fence. Like if I wanted to, I could reach out and rub Roger's beautiful curls. I would never do that. I've thought about it, but I would never do it. But now I noticed they had, they had all of these words painted on the ground, no standing. Now I'm not going to say they weren't there before, but they were never enforced, and it was really enforced this year. So it just
could it be for security reasons, because people have been trying to get in, and I mean Roger had that.
Well, I mean, I guess possibly, and I guess that's probably the underlying reason. I can say that I've never seen anybody act inappropriate in a way that a player's safety was in jeopardy.
Okay.
So I don't know. I just didn't like how big it felt this year. And
how about the Applebee's though? How about the Applebee's?
I mean, Applebee's is Applebee's. The bottom line is, it's the place to be at night because it sits on the same property as the player hotel. So the players can literally have a late night match, and there's nothing else open. During the week, they're open until 1. On the weekends, they're open until 2. So really, it's a default place to be. It's close and it's open. So, I mean...
This is how I'm going to know if Applebee's really the shit. Have you ever seen Roger in Applebee's?
No, come on.
Of course not. Of course not. Come on.
Okay, all right. Then you won't be seeing me in Applebee's then. Sorry.
No, it's a good place.
You are like the scrub lover, and that's where the scrubs are. Your ass would be in Applebee's. I don't even go there, because you would be there every night talking about, ooh, there's Sam Groth.
Yes.
Yeah, where's Tim?
My scrub can't take me on the first date to Applebee's. Are you out of your mind?
Where are you gonna find Tim Smeechik except at the Applebee's?
Exactly.
That's a good thing.
I would like to think that Tim, my number 5, small little quaint place, not Italian, because I'm not eating pasta. I gotta watch my weight. He knows a small quaint French place.
Applebee's. I'll tell you who loves Applebee's. The Italian crew loves Applebee's. So they're always there.
They like fake Italian food. They like fake Italian food.
Well, there's no damn Italian food in Applebee's. You might get a pasta, but I saw Sarah, or not Sarah. You know what? I did not see Sarah Ronnie there this year, which was surprising because she's usually like a staple, giving me like dagger eyes, like die, bitch, die. I swear it's how she's looked at me in the past. But
I love it.
Roberta Vinci, she likes wings. She was fucking them wings up.
You're a man.
I mean, come on. like, suck on the ball, lick the fingers, the whole thing, you know? I'm thinking, should you really be eating like that? Is that part of the tennis player diet?
Okay. So we've got a couple hints for people who decide, because the good thing about Cincy, traditionally why Cincy is so important, right, is that everyone shows up there. It's like Indian Wells. It's like Canada, you never know. But Cincy is usually a pretty good guarantee that everyone shows up just before the U.S. Open. So it's a guaranteed place to go if you want to see. Similar conditions, right? So you've got the Applebee's experience that you can put on your tourist list.
And you know what? You see players walking around the grounds all the time. You really do. And they walk around alone. I mean, I saw tons of people. They just walk around. And if they have security, it's not big security. It's one person. And they're all volunteers. So what are they really going to do if something were to happen anyway?
Okay.
I am not encouraging foul behavior, people. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying that the atmosphere is very, very relaxed.
Okay, good. And the hotels are inexpensive, right? It's not like trying to pay for a hotel in New York.
Oh, absolutely not.
The hotels are very reasonable price. So they're
totally reasonable. Yeah, it's overall it's not that expensive. It really isn't.
It's really one experience of dusting off your passport and go to Cincinnati. It is. Right?
Absolutely, dust that shit off.
Okay, so two questions. Two questions for you. What are the days that people should go if it's your first time going to Cincy? Guarantee go these days, and which ticket package should they go for? That's my last two.
Definitely go Tuesday, Wednesday, because even if you're not going to see your favorite player play, you can catch a practice. They're going to be there Tuesday, Wednesday. A day session is always better than night. You just get more tennis.
Yep.
I'll tell you a little sneaky thing that I probably shouldn't, but I will because who cares?
And because you're listening to our podcast and you're getting
That's right.
That's careful listening to Reels, okay? Goodies.
The grounds do not clear out between sessions. If you have a day session ticket and you don't want to leave, you don't have to leave. The only thing you're not going to be able to do is go on center court. And you may even be able to do that because they really don't always check your ticket.
A little bit of that tip.
Yeah. And if you don't go, there are huge jumbotron type screens in the center of the grounds with lots of nice comfy seating, and you can sit there and watch.
Ooh, you can just stand.
So you know what? If you can't afford to go to a slam, you can get to see every single person, men and women, in a nice little small town, Mason, Ohio, for cheaper prices in a hotel. So I don't know. I think that might be a good selling point.
It's a good bargain. It's a good bargain. When I talk to people who have been to the U.S. Open, they're like, oh, you can't, because everybody is there. It's the same people.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, you don't see players like this. You can't get close to them. You can't watch practices like this. You're definitely not going to see them just strolling the grounds. You're not going to see Roger Federer walking around, but you will see.
You see 10 security circling around something.
I mean,
get away, bitch! Move!
I saw Ivanovic walking around alone. The Bryan brothers are always alone. Lopez is alone a lot. Dolgopolov is always alone. The younger guys, because nobody knows who they are. The women, you can always find the women walking around because nobody knows who they are, and I don't. It's kind of sad because.
Well, aside from the obvious ones, right? Aside from like Serena, the other women kind of blend in together.
Yeah, they're like they're a player because they've got their bags on their back and obviously like their coaches around. But for me, I feel like the women far more than the men look so much different in person than they do on TV, and I don't know why. That's just my experience.
Probably different.
So people tend to not know who they are.
Oh, Karen, I think this might be your tournament.
Yeah, Karen, I just
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's talk to my heart's content.
Exactly.
And Karen would know the players. She'd be like, "No, that's Kopistova, okay? Not the Chris one. That's the Kop."
Right?
So next year in Cincinnati, we're gonna have 2 foreign correspondents in Cincinnati. Okay, right?
Oh yeah, and one will definitely be foreign.
There you go.
You know, like that's our aim. That's our aim. Our aim is to actually do this podcast in Cincinnati, since that's apparently what people do now.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I don't even have a sipping cup. I don't have a sipping cup. I don't have a sipping cup.
Before we get into matches of Cincinnati, let me just say I just want to give a shout out to a couple people.
But yes, you do.
I got to meet some awesome people and meet up with some old Cincy friends.
Yay!
Tony, of course, who
trying to order Coors Light on our show last week.
Right, totally got on there. Lovely to see him as always. And Bella, always great to see her. And Ashley.
Happy belated birthday, Bella.
Yes, and of course, Val, Tennis Inside Out, and her lovely JD. Great to see them and Steph in the U.S. and all that stuff. But I got to make some new friends.
Yeah, holla.
Some fellow podcasters from At the Body Serve is their podcast on Twitter. That's James great. And Jonathan from Canada.
Yay!
They were so much fun. Loved them.
Cool.
They were so fun. Well, if I still like them next week, we'll have them on sometime. But my feelings change quickly.
We'll have to host a podcast meetup of some sort online.
Right.
All right. So I'll tell you a little story. Jonathan and I were walking the grounds, and I said, "Hey, there's Carlos Bernardis." Is that how you say his name?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So there he is, and I said, "We're gonna go talk to him." And he's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "We're gonna go talk to him." And he goes,
"Because this is the Real Tennis Fan podcast."
That's right. And he said, "Well, what are we going to do?" I said, "I'm going to walk up to him, I'm going to shake his hand, introduce myself, and I'm going to ask him if we can talk to him for a minute and fire off some questions." And he's like, "Well, okay." So Jonathan and I approach Carlos, who I've met before at Cincinnati, and he's very, very nice, very friendly. I introduced myself, shook his hand. He says, "Nice to meet you," or whatever. And I said, "So, are you, can you tell me if there is a procedure for assigning chair umpires to matches?"
Mama!
Straight to the point, know how you're doing. Would you like a glass of wine? Are you having dessert? Nothing
right?
Like that.
No. I just shook his hand. I said, "Hi, I'm Nina. I do a podcast called RealzTenisFanz. This is Jonathan." And can you tell me? Jumped right in. Well, because you never know how much time you have, right?
Exactly. Get to the meat.
So he said, "Yes, there is." And I said, "Well, can you tell me what it is?" And he says, "Absolutely." And he said that the biggest factor that they try to do, it doesn't always happen that way, is that they don't like to have a chair umpire of the same nationality of a player on court. They try to steer clear of that. And I said, "Well, are you doing any Rafa matches yet?" And he said, "Well, I would."
But.
And I said, "But are you?" And he said, "Well, I haven't." He goes, "But I'm open to it." And Jonathan asked him pretty much like, "How'd that go down? Why does that happen?" But the interesting part was he said this happens all the time. He said it was a big deal because it was Rafa. He said, and it goes both ways. Often chair umpires decide they don't want to work matches of certain players as much as players don't want this person in the chair. And he said it happens all the time.
That makes sense.
But it was, so Jonathan said, "You're saying it got so much attention because it was Rafa?" And he said, "Yeah." And it was funny because, I kind of like to shit on John Isner, or not, oh my God, not John Isner, sorry, Sam Query all the time. But his example was, he said, it happens all the time. He said, but if it was someone like, say,
Sam Query.
See, and he said, Sam Query? He goes, nobody cares about that.
Well, it's true. I mean.
It is so true. It is so true. So, you know, that's what we...
I don't even think Sam the Grinch has any juice to even make such a request. It's like,
no, you don't have juice. You don't need juice. Apparently, it happens for everybody. It's just that if you have juice, it's gonna make the headlines. That's all.
Oh well, maybe. So you know that was the extent of my little, you know, like 1.5 minute with Carlos. It was interesting, and I laughed so hard that he said Sam Query. I mean, I really did. I laughed about that the rest of the day. And so you know that was fun. I talked to Patrick Martalagu, whatever the hell it is.
Martalagu.
Serena's coach now. All of a sudden,
Serena's coach.
Her coach.
I tried to get him to spill some tea from the inside of the camp, but he wouldn't do it. I mean, we all know how he likes to talk. You know, I felt him out. The day before, and he walked past me, and I said, "Hey, Patrick," and he stops, looks, smiles. I said, "Come take a picture with me."
You know what? Next time I'm gonna send Andreen. Maybe you're just a little too light.
Well, but that was round one. That was me feeling him out, you know, and he totally comes up next to me, and
when we're in New York, you're gonna look for Patrick. I mean, we can't send a light-skinned girl to.
Oh no, but she comes packing with boots. So.
That's
that is true. And you know, when all I wanted from him was a picture.
That's your job.
Oh Lord, he's picking out the rest of the crew. Okay.
That's you into Venus, okay? That's how you're gonna make your connection to Venus, okay?
It could be.
Patrick,
but you know, when all I wanted from him was a picture, he was all ready to cuddle up next to me, held my phone, make sure it was right, put his arm around me. I was like, damn, right? So I see him the next day or later that day, whenever it was, and I said, Patrick, come here. I want to talk to you. I said, I want 2 minutes of your time. Yeah, I see him again, and he comes over. He goes, 2 minutes. I said, okay, 5. He goes, I don't have 5. I said, okay, I'll take 2. And I said, you know, how are you guys feeling inside the camp about Serena's Grand Slam, the career Grand Slam? And he looked at me, and he said, I don't know. And he just walked away. And I had his hand. Like, I had his hand because when he tried to not come to me, I reached my hand out and he took it. So I grabbed it and I pulled him to me. And I'm like, tell me this. And he's like, I don't know. And he just walked away. And I thought, motherfucker, we all know how much you like to talk. But he wouldn't give me anything. But I tried.
He has his own show.
I did try.
It is. And he has his own show on Eurosport. And so I think it's called The Coach or something. So he's very much he does a thing. Karen, I know you can hear us, but I see you on mute. I just want to know because apparently your fans out there who love your Jamaican-ish accent is saying we don't let you talk. What they don't know is that really don't let you talk.
Yeah. Hi guys. Thanks for the love. I really appreciate it. I have this really annoying dog called Billy. And Billy barks at the most inopportune times. And so
well, you know what? Time, he's not talking now. He's not barking now.
He's like,
wait, so let's get her going.
Exactly.
No, let's get in it.
He's our mascot.
I know, but let's get into the WTA. Let's go. Let's go with the WTA.
Yes. So Karen, let us know what was the real tea was going on WTA because I saw your girl Aga was a hot mess, and your girl Jeannie Bouchard. Ooh.
Tell us.
I have absolutely no idea what's going on with Aga and these disco dresses. She is a complete and utter mess. And you know, we said earlier this year that she's basically done, and she's you know, I hate to write off an athlete because you know this is tennis and anything can happen any given day. You catch fire, there's nobody else in the draw, and you pull a Sloan.
I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, the crickets are out full force tonight.
No, that's how tennis works.
That's my side eye. That's my side eye sound.
Yeah, I know. There's nobody in the draw, and you take advantage of your opportunities. That's what Sloane did. You know, she finally made her final, got herself her title, and she has scratched one thing off the to-do list. With Jeannie needs to learn how to play with spin. She really does. This hard and hit harder type of tennis is not going to cut it. And at the other end of the spectrum, you have somebody like Aga, who, you know, the rinky-dink, you know, lull your opponent into a false sense of security. Ain't nobody buying that shit anymore. People are going, you know, people are hitting through her now. They're fed up of that kind of nonsense and this, you know, ooh and hot shots and all that. So people want to win matches, and Aga needs to find a way to how to win matches again. Same thing with Pliskova. There's no way you have that huge of a weapon like that serve and be up 5-2 in a match and lose it 7-5. No.
And then anyone?
Yeah, with that.
Yeah, that's what she did against Jankovic.
Yeah.
Who then, you know, turned up against Simona Halep, seeming to have lost her game completely. And did you hear that her coach, the word is that she's no longer working with Chip Brooks. No, Chip Brooks told your ass, I can't bother with this shit no more.
But she's so adorable, Karen. Everybody loves her personality.
Really?
You're not a fan of the personality?
Karen says not me.
She's not amusing. She's not amusing.
She's not. I mean, I always get this.
Just like how Cornet is no longer amusing. These kind of theatrics, they don't belong in professional sports. You know, it really doesn't. And you know, you look at somebody like Simona Halep, who is much younger than Jankovic, much younger than Cornet, and Simona is approaching her career like a professional. Of course, she has her little moments when she, you know, swipes the racket along the ground and she shouts at herself and everything. But at the end of the day, she's a professional on the court. And I can't imagine Cornet, who has been on tour longer than Simona, can't seem to get her shit together. You know, and the same thing with Jankovic. You're 30 years old, and at some point in time,
she's just there for the glitter.
Really?
But there was a point in Jankovic's career, I mean, even if not last year, where there was talk of she was going to retire because of her back. So I don't know if that might be an issue. Cornet, I have no words for Cornet. You know what? I'm just there for it's a popcorn match. I'm just there for the three actions.
And to me, I just don't find it funny. I really don't. I honestly don't. I'm looking at her and I'm thinking, this is tiring. This is tiring. You know, watching this, I'm a fan of the women's game. I don't need. If I want to see entertainment, I watch WWE. I don't watch for the theatrics and the tears and the, you know, all the dramatics and all that kind. I don't want to see that in my tennis. I want to see athletes putting out a professional, you know, just doing their professional thing. Of course, you're gonna have moments when you're gonna be like, you know, really hyped up. I mean, even Ivanovic, I can stand Ivanovic and the fist pumps and the RJ because she's fighting herself and willing herself to compete. But, you know, all this nonsense, you know, all this caterwauling and all of that, nobody wants to see that. At least I don't want to see that.
You know what, though? I mean, this is where I disagree, right? Because I think that, you know, everybody is not going to end up in week 2 of a slam.
Yes.
Or even the last 2.
Tell us, as Kelly, I'm filled with losers, okay?
No, I mean, you know what it is? Because really, at the end of the day, you're right. At the end of the day, every one of these people are professionals. They're at their job, right? But let's think about people who are at their jobs. There's always a little bit of the jokester at their job. Mm-hmm. There's always the person who's you want them to get serious and they're not getting serious. Somebody's like, yeah, and you're like somebody who's really late, somebody who's really messy, and you're like, God, if you could just get this thing done in 2 hours instead of the hour that we gave, you know, or the 5 hours that you take to do it. I feel like that's what happens in matches. I like to look at matches as like these discrete moments in time for an athlete. And so even though Yankovic had a nice run and she hit some, she won some matches, I didn't want to get ahead of myself and say, hey, what are Yankovic's chances in New York? It just doesn't feel like those are the questions you have to ask about certain players. Certain players, you get them for the moment and they do their thing and you're just happy it happened. But you can't extrapolate from what they did this week into the next. Do you know what I mean? And that for me is Jankovic and Cornet and some of the other players. It's just like they're just so in the moment, and that's all you can do. You know what I mean? That's all you could do with their tennis. They
don't always translate from week to week.
From week to week.
They're unreliable.
They're unreliable.
Which is unfortunate because at her best, Jankovic has a really, really nice game.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's a beautiful game to watch.
But at the same time, she's just getting old.
Aren't we all?
But you know what? Here's the thing.
We saw two old people.
That's exactly what I was just going to say.
Never be anywhere near a winner's
but
circle.
They are anomalies.
I mean, I just have to because they don't want us to get runaway on the runaway train. But I think you said it. You hit the nail on the head, Andre. I'm sorry, Janina, foreign correspondent. That Serena and Roger are anomalies, and they shouldn't be included in this conversation.
Yeah,
they can't be.
They are at their youngest. They were the best in their sport, and that's going to translate. Steffi Graf was still a threat just before she retired. She retired after Wimbledon final.
But see, that's the problem. We have these anomalies, and we compare everybody to them. Exactly. When the reality is, JJ, where she is right now, is how a typical career progresses.
He just dragged JJ a couple weeks ago, so she had to go to Nanjing to win a title.
But listen, let's not forget. Let's not forget that JJ also took care of the Wimbledon champ at Wimbledon. See, it's just funny. Like, the thing about players and the sport is that you've got players like you, Karen, you're right, like a Simona Halep. Her vision is the end, right? She figures that she's going to be somebody worth it and she's going to get to the end game. I don't think sometimes that we have to evaluate other players. Like, some players are like, this is my match, this is my moment, I'm going to be good. And then I may not show up the next match. I don't know. Right. I don't know why. I can't show up every day.
Cornet has a big win?
You know what is unfortunate, because what this does though, this consistent inconsistency amongst the lower ranked players, and we're talking about players ranked between top from 6 to 20.
Yeah.
The lower ranked players at 6.
The gap is so wide. The gap is so
wide. It is. I know. It sounds funny.
Between 6 and 20, those are lower ranked players.
It's horrendous. I know.
And they have been underperforming all season long. They have, even Sharapova. They have all been underperforming this season. I have to
laugh at Elena Svitolina, who decided to show up for a big match. Finally, she's trying to show up for a big match against Serena. Girl, where was that shit against Anna Ivanovic at the French Open?
They all do, because at the end of the day, this, using Andrine's analogy about the workplace, everybody wants to be like the best guy. You have the guy in sales, and he wins all the trophies. He gets all the awards. Every end of year awards, his name keeps calling. And the following year, he's the benchmark by which your unit manager judges you. Well, look at what Serena did. She got top sales performer for this year and top earner and all that kind of stuff. So that person becomes the benchmark. So in tennis, for the women's side, Serena is the benchmark by which everyone else is judged, which is really weird, because if you're looking at it right now, if you're looking at it comparing the two number ones, and you look at what they have achieved this year, you would think that, and how many titles has Nole won this year since this season? He's won at least six or seven titles so far, and Serena has won what, 5 titles so far. No, she's won 5 of the biggest titles this year. Okay, she really has 3 Grand Slams and 2 Premier Mandatory titles this year. Or rather, 1 Premier Mandatory and 1 Premier 5. Who the hell can keep up with this? WTA, please rename these things so that we have an idea what the hell they mean.
Use numbers, please. Use numbers.
So basically, Serena is now the benchmark by which everybody else on the WTA is being judged. And as a result, their performances pale in comparison to what Serena has achieved. Now, the second best player on tour this year is, to me, Simona Halep. She might not have reached a Grand Slam final this year, but she has 3 titles to show for her efforts, one of which was a Premier Mandatory title, and she's made 2 Premier 5 finals, back-to-back titles. So she is a worthy number 2 right now. And she's doing, and we think that she's not doing well because of the benchmark that the number 1 has set, which
and that's not fair. Because again, the number 1 is an anomaly.
I don't feel that way, but what I would say is that, I mean, like, I think Simona is doing well, as well as can be. Sometimes I question her. Like, I'm talking about Melbourne. I really thought that she allowed Makarova to run away with the match for no goddamn reason. But I mean, I'm not judging these players, the lower ranked players, 6 to 20 against Serena, because chances are they're not losing to Serena and Novak Djokovic. Okay, they're losing winnable matches. I saw some bullshit this week on the ATP. I can't even begin to describe it. Where people were in winning position and all of a sudden decide, you know what, I'm not about this life. Fuck
Grigor.
Goffin.
Goffin. Except Goffin lost to Novak Djokovic and Grigor lost to Andy Murray. So you need to use other examples.
Stop right there. No, stop right there. Listen. No. Because I'm going to tell you something. I did not watch Novak because I never do. So I was scoreboarding it. I watched Murray and Grigor. Grigor should have won that fucking match.
I'm saying, what more do you need? A double break yourself for the match point? What more do you need to win a match?
He was playing beautiful tennis. But see, okay, I'll play devil's advocate here. Grigor was playing beautiful tennis and Murray was not. However, Murray wasn't playing horribly. Grigor was playing really well. But that's the difference between a champion, and Andy Murray is a champion. They have that ability to rise up when they need to. And that's all. And I think it gets in the head of the lesser ranked player sometimes, like, holy shit, I'm about to win. And then they falter because they think about that. And we know that that's true because every once in a while someone will tell you that, yeah, that's what happened. Like, I started to think about, I'm about to win. And, you hear it all the time. You have to play point by point. You can't play a match and just think about the match. You can't think about a particular game. In order to stay in the moment and be successful, you have to play point by point. And it's important. And I mean, I don't know if that's what happened to Grigor or not, but he should have fucking won that match. He should have won.
Yes.
He was in a winning position. He created it himself, and I'm not 100% convinced that it was Andy rised up to the occasion. I'm not.
I am. I'm totally.
No.
I kind of feel like Grigor faltered, though.
Yes,
I'm sure it's both.
It's a convergence of those two things.
I mean, because Andy was doing everything that Andy does when he's going to lose a match, and that he sometimes does when he's winning. I'll give him that, whatever. But, the negative body language, the looking at his people like, oh my God.
Honestly, what I saw was Andy reverting to pusher more tennis. He was just basically keeping the ball in play.
Yeah,
and Grigor was doing jack shit. That's what I saw.
That's what happened, though. First of all, we all know that Grigor's serve is unreliable at best. Okay, even in the best circumstances, it's unreliable. And so when he serves, yes, we know that. That's double faults are not unusual with Grigor. And what happened was Andy Murray also tuned into that match. There was something Andy Murray could have lost. He could have really just said, you know what, I'm a little bit tired. I'm going to let this guy go. I'm going to let him. But you could see in the middle of the second set, Andy was like, nah, I'm going to see what I can do here. I'm going to see if I can muscle my way into this match.
Well,
and
you know what he did?
And then he just started retrieving everything.
No, I'm going to tell you what he did.
You know, and then, yeah.
Sure.
Again,
he changed his shirt, and it was like a whole new Andy.
No, I'm not saying no to any of these things, and I do agree with you. But my point is that when Grigor was serving for the match, Grigor is missing by a country mile.
Yes, because his serve always lets him down in tense moments. But the difference was Andy decided to raise his level. Andy decided, you know what? I'm not going to, and I think somebody mentioned it on Twitter, I completely agreed. She said, you know what? Andy did not want this guy to roll up in New York with a win over him. Even if he knew, comfortably, because you know what? That's all you needed. Grigor beat Andy, the new number 2, blah, 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 blah. The whole language was started.
But, this is why I think my problem with the lower ranked players, because you don't seize your opportunity, because Grigor, you know where you're going to be playing your first round match? Court number 18.
Who cares?
Well, you want to talk about court assignment? People were fucking flipping out that Murray was on court 3, and
Murray didn't care.
The bottom line is,
I'm sorry. Watching Feliciano Lopez beating Vidal is a primetime event.
Well, here's the thing that people didn't want to realize: the day before, shit got washed out. It fucking stormed all night. So tons of matches got canceled. Tons of matches, but they were all doubles matches. So nobody wanted to pay attention. As far as the casual player or casual fan saw, everybody played. So then people were pissed because Murray was on court 3. People at Cincinnati weren't pissed because it was a great treat.
Exactly.
However, court 3 is not a bad court. It's the 3rd biggest court there.
Yep.
And it's awesome. I would much rather. It's nicer than Grandstand. It truly is. There's center court, then there's Grandstand, and then there is court 3. And again, I looked up some numbers. Center court holds about 11,500 people, a little bit less. Grandstand, the second largest court, is 5,000 people. Court 3 is 4,000 people. What are you bitching about?
And also, Andy liked it. Andy said he liked it because it's more crowded and the crowd gets excited.
Because I know these trolls are fucking.
You can't do that.
Still seeing it on fucking TV, aren't you, bitches? You're still seeing it on TV.
Well, but you know what? This is what people don't realize as well, though. Because I have felt in the past in Cincinnati, is Andy being a former winner there and also a Grand Slam champion, I have felt many times that he's gotten kind of slighted as far as court assignment. But the bottom line is Murray is never going to get center court over Federer, Djokovic, Nadal. It ain't happening. Bottom line. It's just not. However,
not happening.
I got a little inside.
Except at Wimbledon.
Except at Wimbledon, which ties in perfectly. It ties in perfectly with what I'm about to tell you. I got a chance to talk to lots of people on the inside while I was there, and what people fail to realize is a lot of Murray's court assignment, as far as TV wise, is what's happening with the BBC in time slots in England. And people don't, they just go, oh, Murray's pushed over there.
They're watching at night.
Well, no, they're not. Because that match when he played Grigor, I can't say for sure. I mean, I don't know, but there was a lot of shuffling for the next day, and I'm sure that's why he was on court 3. I've never seen Murray play on that court. Typically, I've seen him on Grandstand far more than center court. But I'm going to say that day it was because of the rain. Yeah. But a lot of times Murray ends up on Grandstand And it's because he needs to be playing for the BBC slot. So, if he needs to be playing at the primetime slot in England, and that's the first match on for the men, and it's Novak, he's not getting that spot over. He's not.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is just inside politics, and not so much that a disrespect thing, because I saw that all over Twitter. Oh, they're disrespecting Andy. This is ridiculous. He's the number whatever he is in the world, and he's one. Whatever. Just I'm telling you, it was a treat. It was a. I'm not gonna get to go anywhere else. I'm not gonna see Andy Murray. I'm not gonna get to sit courtside on center court. Fuck, I can't afford them tickets. So I sat and I watched that match in the second row. It was fucking amazing. Like, I was like, woohoo, I'm excited.
I think that's something that people have to realize, and we've talked about this in the past, is that, yes, you're having an experience at home, your little home, watching it on our TV, but there are people who invested money in a hotel, who paid for the ticket and is physically there.
Yeah.
When a good player gets placed on a side court, we are not upset.
No, it's a treat. It's a treat. It is a treat. I mean,
when you go to a tournament, no. Do you know the sad thing is, like Serena and Venus, we don't get to see. Well, we don't get to see Serena up close at New York. For example, in New York, only in doubles, and so you never see Serena up close. You can
listen to me.
Wait. You can see Venus, because she's always on Armstrong. But Serena, you'll never see that close because they don't put her there. So when you get a chance to see Serena and Armstrong, even though you're bitching at home like this is disrespectful, please know that the person who's there live is loving it.
Loving every moment of it. Yes. Yes. Serena, I mean, I've seen Venus play on that court, and I sat in the front fucking row, and I was like, oh my God, it's Venus. She's right there. I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. Like,
so yeah, no, that's a really good point, Andreen. Know that the people who are at the tournament love when those so-called big names get put on a smaller court, because it truly is a treat.
I was so mad Andy won, because you know what? I gotta go through the fucking pain of hearing Sky Sports and his commentators play this match over and over. My God, Sky Sports, you need to get the fuck off of Andy's dick. I'm sorry.
All right, okay.
We're talking about WTA matches, and they reach on Andy Murray. Well, Andy Murray did that. God.
Andy Murray saved British tennis, okay?
And so you got to do what you got. But I mean, let's make sure we don't get off track. But it is something to note that when court assignments, don't be triggered by the automatic disrespect for the player.
Except when
Pay attention to different kinds of things that might be happening. That's just something to note, because you know what? I will damn skippy love it if I know Fed fans will go crazy if they ever put Federer on Armstrong, which they did, and he lost in front of me. But that was one of the best times. I've never been that close to Federer in New York, because Ash is freaking huge, and I can't pay $600 or $6,000 or whatever the hell those tickets are to sit far down on the stadium.
Right.
So just be mindful of that, people. Just, there are always reasons for things, and, be grateful for the people seeing it live.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Go ahead.
I was just about to say, so like we said earlier in the show, we said, this is now the official and the unofficial end in my mind to the US Open Series.
Yeah.
So who do we think are contenders? This is not really, we haven't seen the draw, right? Because the draw is the shit, right?
Yep.
Who do we think on the men's side? Karen, don't go to bed just yet, we're saving you for later.
I'm still here. I'm still here.
Who do we think are contenders? Let me just say, I think, Andre, you mentioned this at one point, that, it's so unfortunate that Federer wins. The sad thing is that Federer win in Ohio today, Cincinnati. It don't mean shit he's going to have a chance at the title. It just means, okay, Dad, he's looking like he's in shape to be in the second week.
You know what, though?
That's what it means on the ATP side, though. On the because it's a different animal there, right? It's a different animal. It's 5 sets.
Well, you know what? Although Federer historically does well in Cincinnati, obviously, this was his 7th title, he showed us some new stuff, which makes me excited about Cincinnati, or about New York. That fucking running second return serve shit he was doing, that shit was off the hook. And I was like, damn, dude. I mean, he better bring that shit to New York in full fucking force, because that was amazing.
Joker was like, what the fuck is... What the fuck is
everybody was. Well, did you see where that came from, though? He said, like, I did it in practice just to kind of see what it was all about, like some, and he did it for fun, just fucking around. And it worked. So he practiced at it, and he was like, I'm gonna try this in a match. I mean, that's basic. That's what he said. Like, and he brought it, and it worked, and it like, it was weird to watch.
It threw his opponents off, and it threw the opponents off. And the commentators.
We're almost like, what is this kamikaze shit out there on the Discord? That was wild, but it was exciting, because here we have this 34-year-old man who supposedly, every time he loses, we want to write him off. Doing new shit. Who else is doing new shit? Anybody do no new shit?
But it's funny, because we spoke earlier about Serena and Fed being anomalies, and we're talking about Fed and his kamikaze run up to the service line, return of serve.
That was crazy.
But remember that a few years ago, Serena also changed up her game to what we're seeing now. Longer rallies, more spin. Venus has changed up her game. Venus is actually hitting topspin forehand shots, something that we never saw earlier on in her career. And she's actually going to the net more. Wish she would do it more. But it's something about our older players that forces them. They want new and innovative ways. They're always talking about, I want to improve. No, this is how you improve. Well, you improve by showcasing things that you're working on during practice.
But you see, you have to take that in perspective, right? It's not that they want to improve necessarily. They want to win.
Well, let's put this out there, because Brad Gilbert actually did a good on-court interview with Serena. Wow. He did. I actually enjoyed it. And it was interesting because he said to her, did you see what Federer was doing? And she's like, no, what? He said he's doing this running second serve return thing.
What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, you think
listen, but check this out.
Don't get distracted, Reels.
Sorry.
So she goes, and I mean, she literally had this perplexed look on her face, and she said no, and he said, you need to go watch some YouTube videos and check out what the Fed did. And I'm telling you, and she was like, he did that? I mean, this is what she said on court. And I was like, this is the best interview Brad Gilbert's ever done. Because it was interesting. But watch out, because I bet she looks. I bet she looks.
She did it.
Did she do it?
She did it. She didn't run up to the service line, but she returned second serves better today, and she was moving forward.
Right. It's this thing that it's what Darren Cahill was mentioning to Simona. He was like, Serena she's going too hard for your first serve. Even though you're not spinning in it really, even though you're not hitting it hard, she isn't attacking your first serve, so you can really lay off the second serve. You can really lay off the first serve. But it's the second serve you really have to try to go big for, because she's going after them shit like it's nobody.
She was going after it, and she was moving forward to try to shut down that return of serve.
Maybe she already watched videos.
Well, also though, I think the other side of this issue too, aside from the clear strategic change, it's also the kind of when you make a creative change, it also gives you a little bit extra juice when you're playing, right?
Yes.
I mean, I also feel like Federer and Serena, they're oldies. They've been doing this so long. They've seen these opponents across the net, and they're like, what am I going to do different to keep themselves engaged, to keep themselves...
Well, and you know, when Federer was asked about this, he said, it's easy for me. He goes, I tried it a few times, just kind of joking around, and it was easy. So why not try it in a match?
And also, he did make the point. Sorry, he did make the point that the environment allowed for it. The court and his serving percentage was high enough that he felt okay risking things.
You know that Federer was not broken once this week. He only
faced 3 break points. Yeah.
I know they had no break points at all this match.
The prize goes to Feliciano Lopez. Feliciano Lopez was the one who got the 3 break points.
And that was a good match.
And but this is the same thing. The same kind of excellent serving and very, very assertive on the return. This is what we saw in Dubai. And Fred, I'm gonna tell you now, I would have given up that Dubai for that Wimbledon title. As a matter of fact, I would have given up that Dubai and the Cincy title all in one to see half of this shit at Wimbledon.
No, but you know what? You learn.
It's a heavy task, right? I mean,
but you can't do everything everywhere. You can't always play the same game on different surfaces,
And also, it's also about commitment, right? Because sometimes when you want something, as we've noticed with Novak, I think sometimes when you want something something strongly, like I think Federer really wanted Wimbledon, that maybe you don't take as many chances as you should.
Exactly.
You play a little bit safe, and I think it's interesting that Fed. Even though I think he wanted the title, he was willing to still play really risky tennis in this final. And I thought to myself, you know what? That's really showing something, because that means that when it's at the U.S. Open or when it's someplace else, you're going to keep doing this. You've decided that.
Well, we hope so.
Time. Well, no, I think that it's taken. This has been a growth. It's like Karen said with Serena. This is why Serena has improved on clay, right? She changed her game so she could succeed on that surface.
Right.
She could play with more spin. She could do all the things that people have been saying. Be more patient. Just work the point better, right? Mm-hmm. And it took a while. Now we're seeing the rewards for her doing that. And it's the same thing with Fed. This is 2 years progress. Remember that.
Right.
This, and so it's like you can't. We wanted them to be comfortable. Did you see how comfortable Fed was at the net?
Yes,
I mean, it's like
it was beautiful.
And it's the same thing with and it's the same thing you're seeing with Serena. It's like what's interesting is that we watch these people week in and week out, and then we kind of miss their transition. Although I've been paying attention because Karen's always telling me, look at how she's changed her game. And look at how patient she's become, and all of that. And we're really seeing the rewards across multiple surfaces.
Tell me.
You know what? One last thing, just to end on Andrine's last point. I wish commentators would realize that Serena's game has changed completely.
Yeah.
For the last 2 weeks, all we've been hearing is about Serena's lack of a serve, and it's really distressing for me to sit and listen, because one of the things that I look at when I look at a player's stats, it doesn't really matter who it is. I look at your stats, I look at your serve stats, your return points won. I don't look at winners and unforced errors, because that's part of the game. But I look at how the 2 shots that you have control over, that return of serve and the serve, I look at those stats, and on the serve, Serena has just been abysmal this season. From January, her serve has been MIA, but she has been winning with her mental game and her ground strokes. And I'm surprised at people like Cliff Drysdale, who is always hell-bent on showing us these pretty graphics with the pointed arrows and everything like that, has not realized that Serena's game is no longer about her serve, but about her all-around game.
And her two-stroke drop
Well,
shot.
the problem there is it's not that we don't, but it's not so much that they don't. how do I want to say it?
It doesn't fit into the narrative that they've already.
Yeah, because we talk about Serena's serve so much and how awesome it is and how it gets her all these free points, and then that's not happening. So she is seemingly struggling. So what it comes down to almost, and we've talked about it here, she's able to win with B and C level tennis, but really maybe that's not the case.
It's not.
Because we consider her A-level tennis, which of course is part of it, when she's serving well. So when she's not serving well and she's still winning, then we say her tennis isn't so great. But obviously it is, because she's still winning. Because, you know, her opponents are not her. Yeah, I get that. I get that she's better than everybody else. She truly is. However, the rest of her game is so magnificent, but people don't want to talk about it because all we've talked about is the serve
her
for
serve.
so many years.
Her serve and her power.
Everything else just kind of gets pushed aside.
And really and truly, I mean, if you look at another stat that is out there, which is the power game stat, Serena's not even the top 5.
No,
there are 5 other players.
Madison Keys
who hit harder and with much more force than Serena does, and you know, I wish
she doesn't have any control.
That was, well, we know that. You know.
She has no control of emotion.
She doesn't have any control. Period. Just embarrassing to witness at the best of times.
Anyway,
well, I think we were fine. I was trying to get that quote that Andrea Petkovic had about Serena. I thought that was a really, really thoughtful analysis of Serena's game, and how she sort of dismisses this idea that people are constantly remarking on just her power, and they don't realize how smart Serena is on the court. If we find that quote, we'll link to it in the podcast in the subject area in the podcast. But it was interesting.
On the men's side, so we can clearly say, "Oh, Janina, you're back. Did you go far?"
I have no idea what just happened.
We can say, I mean, in my assessment, I think we got to give it up to the top 3 men. They might be contenders in New York. Joker, Federer, and Loch Murray. Can we put Dividal in the mix?
No.
No. I know they want to, but no.
No.
He's gonna get his serve on right?
No.
Andre,
I found the quote. From Petko,
fantastic!
So.
I was
Can
looking
I read
for
it?
Yes, go ahead.
It says, when people say she's so much strong, she's strong, obviously, but when you play her, it's not her power that really, it's her serve, right? She just gets a lot of free points on her serve, and you feel the pressure from there. But once she's in the rally, she opens the court. She doesn't go for her shot. She goes for the returns. And when she has a short ball, yes, she goes for it. But when she's in the rally, she tries to open the court with the angle and again goes for the ball. So she really builds the point. She doesn't always go full power. And I don't think she would be where she is with that type of game, Madison Keys, maybe 10 years ago, but not today. Today is physically so fast and can get to those balls. If you play like this, we can handle those balls. But she plays very, very smart. And I think people don't give her enough credit for that. She's crafty. She can play anything. I remember the match she played against Henin at the Australian Open, and she was forced to play the higher slice and the spin, and she did all that. And people tend to focus on the most obvious, and that's the power. But you know, that's people. So
hey,
that 2010 finals with her and Henin is a really great match.
I thought that was a really
well thought out response to your competitor. And you know, one of the things that I give Justine Enna credit for is for forcing Serena to develop a one-hand backhand slice. I think she needs to send flowers to Daniela Antipova and Justine Enna for that one-handed slice, because she developed it in 2007 after getting injured. And she couldn't hit a two-handed backhand against Enna, so she basically had to hit a slice. She lost, but she had to hit the slice all day long.
And while we're here, we can just give a round of applause to Marianne Bartoli to take out Justine.
Stop it.
I'm just saying. But okay, so let's get back. We don't get sidetracked. We were supposed to be quick and easy today. Because folks, we have lots of good stuff, goodies for you this week. Lots of goodies.
Really?
But
Yes, Karen, really.
Maybe not. Okay.
Karen, are you not part of the meeting? Are we shutting you out of the meetings too?
No.
Ooh! Just so you know, I was not the person who posted that, okay? I go to the tennis forum, and I do post that tennis forum from time, but I did not post that.
Okay.
I don't know what you're referring
tennis forum
to.
is giving us a lot of love.
I have a question. Who were the surprises in Cincinnati this week for you guys?
On the men's side. On the men's side.
side, go.
Oh, Dal Gopolov without a...
Yes, apparently
Dal
somebody
Gopolov.
the douche wanted some money. So, he
Dal
got his...
Gopolov, I mean... And
That surprised you?
Yeah, it did. I mean, he came through qualifying. I hadn't heard from Dal Gopolov in years. By the time I followed the bastard. Oh, I should actually say Goffin.
Yeah, Goffin too. He played up to his potential.
Yeah,
He was surprising and disappointing.
Yeah, they all been.
Actually, no. I mean, what?
Goffin's game is throwback.
Well, I'll tell you, for
He's
me,
from a real throwback era with his game.
I wasn't surprised by Dolgopolov because I feel like I've always been a fan of him. I know that a lot of people think he's just this asshole, and I get it, and I understand why. But I'm a fan of his game. I like him. I like the way he plays. He's quick. He's fun to watch. He's just fun, and he's good. And when he's having a good day, he can trouble anybody, and he can win. Yes. And I appreciate that about him. So for me, he wasn't surprising. For me, he lived up to my expectation of him, and I thought he did really well, but it wasn't surprising. I was surprised by Lopez because I'm going to be honest, I fucking expected him to roll over for Rafa.
Yeah.
That's just the way shit seems to go.
Yeah.
When he plays his countrymen.
Yeah, the minion thing.
I ain't trying to bad shit here, but I'm just saying Lopez tries to fight Vidal. Whenever he plays Vidal, he doesn't always roll over. He does try to fight him, particularly in grass.
Yeah, but see, Lopez, don't forget, Lopez is the most successful at beating Rafa.
Exactly.
That. It's not Verdasco. Lopez doesn't have a problem going after Rafa because it doesn't mean as much to him as it does the others.
Sure.
He takes it and goes for it.
I didn't expect it, and I was looking. I don't know.
Hard.
I don't know if people are unaware because again, doubles coverage just doesn't get that much anything coverage. He played a lot of tennis this week. He played a lot of tennis, and he played like at one point. Well, the match that when he played Rafa, he immediately went and played doubles. And the match that he was scheduled, that he did play against Federer, the scheduling was, I felt bad for him. The scheduling was so fucked up. The scheduling for his...
That's why top guys really, that's why they don't do doubles, because you do eventually get screwed with the scheduling.
Well, I mean, it was essentially both his singles and doubles match. It was slated to start at the same fucking time. It was. And I was like, how is this possible, So he loses to Roger, and he goes off, and he, immediately has to play doubles. And, it sucked. But he played a lot of tennis, and he played a lot of great tennis. And for me, he was my surprise of the week for the men.
Most disappointing. Are we all agreed? Berdych.
Yeah, well, you know what? Berdych has been MIA for a while, right?
Yes.
Starting from the French, maybe?
Yes.
But you know what? He played some great tennis in Cincinnati until he met Dolgopolov.
Yeah, but and the commies were saying that. The commies were like, you know what? He would have come in this match feeling like he was playing great tennis and having a positive head-to-head, and then he just was completely bamboozled. Because you know what?
But that's what Dolgo does.
That's what Dolgo does. Some days Dolgo decides that he's going to be playing genius tennis this week.
I don't know if anybody really paid attention closely, because typically I don't, but since I was there for the qualifying rounds in Cincinnati were super strong. Like, I kept looking at who's playing, and I'm like, is this round one? Because it was strong. It was really, really strong. But Berdych played great tennis. His serve was on. I mean, everything was just on. And let me just, insert something there. If you have never seen this man in person, my God.
Yes, I know.
He is a beautiful specimen. TV does nothing for him.
No.
Nothing. I mean, I think he's kind of... Shut up, Reels. Shut up.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
He's kind of cute on TV.
No, he's not. He looks like Herman Munster.
No, Burdick is gorgeous. He's gorgeous, and his body is something to truly be appreciated.
When I see
legs.
When I see Burdick, I either think Herman Munster. Or
no, he is gorgeous. That is a that is a beautiful man. He is beautiful.
Lady who hasn't picked her top 6 men yet. You know what? Can't have a say.
Oh my God.
All right, so Reels, who was your surprise of the week?
I'm gonna say
for the women.
No, for the men.
Let Reels do his men.
I think pretty much Dolgopolov. I think he just wanted that money. You know, I don't think he's an asshole. I think he's a homophobic asshole. I think he did well. I think he brought up his ranking by 28 spots. So he is not that it really matters. Wanting out in the top 32 at majors because you get thrown all over the place once you're outside of the seeds.
Right.
But I think he definitely put his name out, and he can be playing less qualifications, hopefully, at some tournaments in the fall. But he was really surprising, and he played. There were moments I saw him against Janowitz and Jersey Janowitz, who I don't know, fuck he's doing with his life. But there were moments at the time he was stumble. But you know, just like two scrubs fighting for their life here, and you know. I was really impressed by his play, and I was impressed by how he handled Burdick, because I really thought Burdick was gonna be like, "Fuck this! It's an easy winnable match for me," and he's gonna. And I had already seen it in my mind: Burdick versus Novak in the semifinal. Burdick's gonna be bageled. I had that written in my mind.
I thought Burdick was gonna fucking sweep Dogo all over that court because
exactly.
Not because Dolgopolov was playing poorly, because he wasn't, but Burdick was playing so good. Yeah. He really was playing some awesome tennis. And it just, you know, I mean, everybody has a good day, everybody has a bad day, whatever.
I was disappointed in, I'm going to say, the many men who had some good opportunity to sneak in a win, and they just kind of choked and just let it go. And, you know, I mean, again, we talk about this, who is in the final, but Roger and Novak again.
But you know what? Roger and Novak again, but Roger taking advantage of a poor Novak, because that's what happens. Champions figure out how to do that, right?
I am not mad. Roger wins.
You know what? I am not putting an asterisk on this. He whooped his ass.
Oh,
no,
I'm
he
not
whooped his ass. He did.
I'm not putting an asterisk. How dare you, Andre, suggest that? No.
I am not putting an asterisk.
No, I'm not putting an asterisk.
In the gallery. Yes, you are.
No, I wasn't putting an asterisk. What I'm saying is, listen, Novak was not playing solid tennis all week. That was clear.
Oh,
no, he wasn't.
He wasn't.
Federer was.
And Federer was. And so what happens is, we can tell that it's the same thing that happens.
Oh, Novak only plays solid tennis against Wawrinka.
No, yeah, but the reason why it's solid tennis, because again, this is one of the things people forget. That's why Novak and Rafa plays such a similar type of tennis, right? They like predictability in shots. That's why every single shot is the exact same thing that happens with Novak. Who gives Novak trouble? People who give Novak trouble, that's the same thing that was happening with Doko. You have to surprise him. You've got to get him off of the baseline. You've got to just change things up. That's why he got a little bit of a panic attack.
You got to do that running second serve.
You just have to wake him up out of his thing. And what happened with Fed, and the reason why he was able to beat Fed after a couple times when Fed surprised him, is that Fed maintained the same approach, look, and then Novak had gotten comfortable. When you shock Novak's system, just like Fed did in Shanghai, just like he did it in Dubai, and just like he did it today,
he doesn't know what to do.
He doesn't know what to do because they're rhythm players, right? They play they're metronome or something. Is that what that word is? Yeah, they just go back and forth, back and forth. You change that ball up, you give them different looks. That's what Doko did. And Novak was so panicked in that second set. He was like, what the fuck? I don't know what to do. Where's the ball coming? His backhand, Novak's backhand was failing him against Doko match. His backhand. Because he was so unsettled. And so to me, it's like you've got to that's why sometimes for me the lower ranked players don't pay attention to the other guy across the net and look and say, wait, this guy's unsettled. That's what whatchamacallit, that's what Goffin failed to see. I'm up 2 breaks because I'm completely surprising this guy.
Let me ask a quick question. Did any of you watch that match?
I did.
Okay, because I mean I didn't. There was some talk amongst the grounds that Goffin got injured late when he lost. That he kept stretching out like a leg or something. Did that really happen, or
for the TV? No, I didn't see it.
Okay, no, I was just curious because I
mean, like, to be honest with you, Goffin played out of his mind. I don't know if he looked at the scoreboard and was just like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, then his mind caught up with him, right? Like,
not only that, just like he didn't realize he had to now play a type of tennis that he had to maintain this. As soon as Nole got into Nole, was just like, you know what? Let me just shake this motherfucker up a little bit and remind him who is across the net. And as soon as he got the first break, that was it for Goffin. He was done.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the scores.
He got a Serena.
Yeah.
And then you lose 6 games in a row.
But you know, it's also slightly similar with Serena, right? You give her some off-pace balls, and then she's got to adjust. And if you don't, yeah, and she'll adjust eventually because that's what champions do.
Yeah.
But you got to get them while they're still figuring out how they're going to get it, and then and that's what you got to do.
So who were your surprises? Let's talk about our surprises for the women.
Svitolina, I was impressed. I didn't
think she had that game, right?
I didn't think she had that game. I really
it was funny because last year in Cincinnati was when Svitolina had her breakout moment against Carlos Suarez Navarro, and I was at that match, and she literally had 4 fans, and I am not exaggerating. She had 4 motherfucking fans. And like this year, it was nice to see. Like, oh, everybody's like, oh, there's Svitolina, you know, and I've got like Daddy Yankee playing in my head or whoever it is, Gasolina. But it was nice to see because she really truly had 4 fans. I'm not joking, 4.
One of the things I like about Svitolina, and you know, she doesn't really have the game to beat a Serena or a Sharapova or even a Halep. This dog is getting on my last damn nerve.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Hi, Billy.
Hi, Billy. We don't mind him. Keep going. We don't want to lose you.
She has improved. She has improved a lot. Forehand still a problem, but her backhand still a weapon, and her serve has gotten a lot bigger. One of the things I like about her is her fight. She just never gives up. I saw her in Marrakech earlier this year, and when she won the title there, and she battled hard in the heat against a really tough opponent in Timea Babos, and she really came through and won that title. So for all people talk about the fact that she doesn't have the game, no, she doesn't have the game to take down Serena, but I like that kind of competitiveness.
Who does, right?
You know, she really thought she had a chance.
I love that kind of competitiveness, and one of the things, she has this thing where she really can get out of control and start screaming and hollering and breaking down and everything. And she did none of that the other night. She just went out there and she competed, and that's all you can ask of yourself. You go out there and you do the best you can against somebody who is really a champion and a cut above you, you know. So for that, kudos to Svitolina. I was quite impressed with her performance. Yes.
Andrine, who was your surprise lady of the week?
Halep. I really thought Halep, you know, I thought with her injury, I thought it would have been a perfect opportunity for Halep to sort of play it safe and maybe lose a bit early or even withdraw. But to see her kind of struggle through and find her game, really, because I mean, this is Halep. This is the Halep we felt was missing. Remember, we had 2 weeks ago. We talked about how we missed her.
It was lovely to see her, wasn't it? It was awesome.
It was
awesome to see that.
She was back, and so again, I'm now saying, what am I saying now? I can't wait to see Halep at the U.S. Open again. See, now I'm excited. So
that's how she drags you in, and
but you know what? I know, but can I also say who also surprised me? Serena. Because Serena, it was a perfect opportunity for Serena to kind of do that thing where
fizzle out.
Fizzle out, yes.
No, fizzle out in Cincy. It's okay. The pressure's really on for New York. You've got like a shoulder thing and an arm thing. Maybe lose the first or second round. The second round, maybe third. But no, she really steadied herself and found the course. Stayed the course and got to the final and won it. I'm pretty surprised by that because Cincy doesn't always get Serena love, right?
Okay, listen. I wasn't there. I took off early. I was ready to come home, but I'm glad. I can tell you, I'm glad. Let me tell you a real quick story. Real quick. I had some semifinal tickets to get rid of, and I tried to get rid of them the night match, which was the women's semifinals. And I tried 3 different times to sell those tickets. And do you know nobody would even take them because they were the women's semifinals?
That's unfortunate.
In the last time, I had to sell my men's semifinals and finals tickets because I was coming home earlier and I got totally hosed, but we don't need to talk about that. But I threw the women's in there because I had them, and I'm like, well, there's no point in me taking them home. If you can sell them and you get something for them, then fine, whatever. I said to the guy, the scalper, whoever, he was like, I don't know what I'm going to be able to do with these women's ones. And I said, you know what? People need to realize that Serena Williams is in the semifinal, and they may never see her here again, ever, because next year is an Olympic year, and I think Cincinnati's going to get hit really hard with people not playing there because of when the Olympics fall.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know. Yes, she's at the top of her game, and she's playing well, and she's still kicking everybody's ass. I get it. But it makes sense for her and Federer to go out on top, play the Olympics, and kind of be done. And it's a very real possibility. And I'm not trying to send anybody into early retirement. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying this is a very real possibility. And when have you ever heard Federer say, as he said in his acceptance speech today, I don't know how many times I'll be back here, but I'm going to try to come back next year. He doesn't talk like that.
He
does not talk like that. So, it was really disheartening and disappointing that I couldn't sell them tickets. Not because I wanted money, but I'm like, this is Serena Williams, you guys. Like, are you kidding me? And nobody wanted the fucking ticket.
Well,
I couldn't hardly. I mean, I literally, but it's just sad because look at who she is, So whatever. That's that. That's my story.
I find it. There's a saying that says, "A prophet is never welcome in his own country."
Mm-hmm. Nope.
And I don't want to get biblical, but Jesus was chased out of Nazareth.
Preach, sister, preach.
America is going to regret.
Yeah,
especially American tennis fans, those in the Midwest, those in the, out of New York and Miami and, the metropolitan areas, they're going to regret when Serena is no longer around, because it's not just that there's no one else coming up who will represent the sport in the way how she has. It's the fact that there are no other fucking champions out there
like
who
her.
will have the kind of crossover appeal that Serena has, that nobody else has. Serena has put women's tennis on the map when no one else has. And it's disappointing that you could not sell a semifinal ticket to a Premier 5 event.
Yep.
It's to me, that's just disheartening, because it means that people are not really and truly tennis fans. Because if you were a tennis fan, you would jump at the chance to get these tickets, especially if they were going for less than ticket price.
I mean, she won Cincinnati last year for the first time in her career, and let's think about how long her career has been.
Yeah.
And the love that she got was very, very Fucked up.
And well, guess what? And now she has done what no other woman has done. She's actually defended the damn thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Really?
So, I mean, no one has. And
no other woman has ever done that.
I mean, in a sense, I'm kind of glad that I wasn't seen there, that I didn't see her there do it, because Cincinnati has a thing kind of like Wimbledon, where the champion comes out on a balcony and holds up the trophy for the crowd and blah, blah, blah. And the reception that Serena got last year, it made me want to cry. And I'm not exaggerating.
Well, it was better this year.
Ridiculous. I hope
it was better this year.
It looked better this year.
I have to say, like, Serena didn't really surprise me. I guess we have to say that because Janina had put out last week, that she might not show up. She might not stay out together.
But I have to tell you something. I have to say something before we get too far off what Janina just said. I have to say that the fan support, whenever she played, was awesome.
Oh yeah, I think
they were even able to drown out the Simona fans, and that's something that's really hard to do.
You know what? You know which match I was most interested in seeing the crowd support was Ivanovic, because they love her there.
Yeah. Oh God, they love her everywhere she goes.
They do, and it was a pretty good mix, I thought, being there. But I just can't for the life of me understand why everybody wasn't like, yes, Serena. I mean, I understand everybody has their favorites, but here we are in America.
You're in a foreign
American player.
First of all, you're asking this question in an interesting moment, right? Because America, aside from the fact that Serena is Black American, and that's problematic for a lot of people, that's also just problematic for Americans in general.
No, it is. And you know what?
I mean, let's just give context. Americans, tennis players, complain about that in general.
I'm gonna tell you what I think some of the problem is, and this has nothing to do with men's tennis, women's tennis, nothing. I think my experience, and again, is only at Cincinnati, that people like to go to tennis to socialize.
Yeah.
They don't know what the fuck is going on. I heard somebody talking about Ivanovic, and they were like, Who is she? Ivana? How do you say her name? What is she? Spanish? And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Why are you here? Because, I mean, granted, Cincinnati's not the most expensive tournament you can go to, but it's by no means cheap. So why are you spending this kind of money to come and watch something that you don't know about?
I mean, social activity. You're just there to watch the ball getting hit. You don't.
I mean, I guess I'm just like, really. But if you know anything about tennis, don't you know who Anna Ivanovic is?
No.
I mean, come on.
Janina, at the U.S. Open, people pay top money to go in
and watch it on TV
at the Heineken bar.
I don't know that life. I don't know that life.
You know what? You guys have to move. You have to move away from that. It's an entertaining evening.
It is.
They are not. Listen. You can't follow people on Twitter. Twitter people have screwed you all up. These people know tennis players seriously. Normal people.
They don't have a fucking clue.
Normal people know Federer barely. Serena, and maybe Andy Murray and Rafa. That's it. And Djokovic. That's it. Anybody else, you could line up all the WTA and have them, and Sharapova. You can line up all the WTA ladies and have them walk down the street and nobody know who the hell they are. It's the same thing with the men's side. It's just not, I mean, I know people hate that.
It's true, though. It's true. I mean, I can remember someone asking who Del Potro was.
Yes.
Oh my God. I'm telling you, I watched a match. I watched Tsonga versus Verdasco. And there is a man in the front row of Armstrong screaming out, "Go!" What did he call him? Wilford! Go Wilford! Go Wilford! I was like, really? Really? He can handle.
Okay, so we are so off base. So I'm gonna give I need to give my surprise of the week.
Oh, what's your surprise of the week?
My surprise of the week is totally fucking Serena, because I expected her ass to pull out with a toe gate, Kardashian gate, some fucking kind of shit gate. And you know what? Thank you for proving me wrong. Thank you for showing up and playing, taking the title. You do the damn thing, girl. You go on to the U.S. Open and you do the damn thing there. Because I was sure that bitch would not play in Cincinnati. I did not think we were getting more than one match out of her, if that.
You know what though? I bet you
positive.
I bet you she did. You know what? Now that I think about it, Serena wanted nothing to do with New York right now.
No. Oh, can we just? Oh no, hold on. No, that's not true. Because listen, after her match with Svitolina, after that, okay. Did y'all catch the encore interview?
No.
When she said, "I have never." There was so much shade. She actually said she wasn't thinking about that match, that she's thinking about the next couple weeks. She said that. Because everybody, let's be real. This is the Reels podcast, right? Let's fucking keep it real. Did nobody in their right mind think Svitolina was going to beat Serena?
Apparently she didn't.
Exactly. Apparently she didn't either, because she flat out said on her on-court interview for ESPN that she wasn't even thinking about this match, that she's looking ahead. And I was like, oh my God. And honestly, I couldn't believe that there wasn't this fucking Twitter uproar, you fucking bitch.
But you know what?
Because Serena won Roland Garros with a chest infection, okay?
Okay, but this comes back. No, wait. This comes back to something that we talked about a long time ago.
I know.
A long time ago about. Say what you really want to say. Going to that press conference, and you're like, that shit was easy. That's basically what she did on court. I wasn't thinking about that match. I knew I had that. I got this fucking title in the bag. I'm thinking about New York.
But you know what?
That happened.
What really got me in that semifinal was Svitolina, who got confused.
Oh my God! Stop.
And I was like, "Homegirl, Serena gives everybody an early break. This is your moment."
She did. She gave one to Halep this morning.
And I was just gonna say, the only time I was actually nervous was when it happened with Halep, because I thought you might not get this one back. You probably will.
But you knew you would.
This is a
different giant.
No, but I'm like, this is a different animal. This is not Svitolina.
Oh my Lord! Why are you singing her name?
Okay, do you seriously? You don't know the song? Are you kidding me?
I do.
You know what's so funny? It's so funny, because it's the way how we look at Serena, because not even when she was down to Ivanovic was I worried.
No, I know. Because you know the other ladies.
No, I wasn't either.
You know what? Because you know the other ladies. You know what these babies are made of, which is
You're sitting there waiting for Ivanovic to turn into Ivanovic.
No, Ivanovic is terrible to show up. You know Ivanovic is gonna fuck up Anna.
Absolutely.
Which is why everyone is giving props to Bencic, because everybody was like, we thought you were gonna let her roll back up in this match, play crap tennis.
But
We're gonna give you an award because you stayed the course.
Exactly.
The roller coaster.
Oh my God! All right, guys.
Before we go anyway, I just gotta say, can somebody talk to Ivanovic the Terrible?
About
toss is fucking crazy.
We already know that.
Yeah, we know.
We know
that is what makes her Ivanovic the
That's
Terrible.
what I cannot Reels. I cannot believe you're asking us to talk to Ivanovic about
I mean, for this time around, I really watched her. I mean, as I was really watching her. Tennis TV has a better coverage, I think. It's a better camera angle. And I was like, Anna Evangel, how are you not double faulting on every single time you serve? Because you're literally, she's trying to literally throw the ball in the court and then hit it. It's like,
Stop.
No, that's been her ball toss forever, honey. You can't make that better.
She's throwing the ball like she has balls in her hand.
It's a testament to how good Ivanovic is that she can actually hit that damn ball with the toss all the way over onto
like
the other side of the net.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh my god. She's lovely.
You know what's funny is that what is so funny is that she doesn't catch the ball. She lets the ball bounce on the ground, and when you see where the ball is landing, it's just like, sweetie, you were gonna try to hit that shit? Like the ball is almost like
Stop.
halfway.
All right. Let's wrap it up.
So I think we had an outline. I don't know if we followed that outline clearly. But,
we did, sort of.
We did good.
So, ladies, what are our final thoughts? Do we have any juicy gossip? Oh, by the way, before we go any further, let me just throw this out. I know people probably hate us for this, but you know what? I'm going to give a round of applause to Nick Kyrgios, NK Rising.
What happened?
NK Rising had to set some people straight. He had to show some receipts today. This past week. Because a certain Mr. Stanley Babrinka wanted to go on TV and say Nick never apologized to him.
Oh, yeah.
And then he went into the press conference and said like, yeah, he didn't apologize rightly. Motherfucker, shut the fuck up, okay?
You gonna complain about the apology now?
Exactly.
That's exactly what happened.
You get
and
an apology
on that note, Karen, do you have a bomb to drop?
Ooh, Karen. Ooh.
Well, while we were roving internet, we heard, a little birdie told us.
What we heard was
that a certain ATP player who has been mired in some amount of controversy this year also took a stab at the first lady of tennis.
No, he didn't.
Yes, and we all know who the first lady of tennis is.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. There might be some controversy, but we all know who that is.
We know.
And we heard that he did not come out on the winning side of that one.
I don't think so. I don't know that.
And on that note, we will be back with you on Friday. We will be live, right? We will be, right?
We're live.
We will be live on Friday for the new U.S. Open draw.
Before we go, one last question to our listeners out there. If you know of anywhere on TV where there will be USO quali streaming, please hit us up at the Real Tennis Fan Podcast or hit us up on...
I got you covered, girl. Don't worry about that. I know people who know people who know people.
There we go.
Okay.
All right.
I got the hookups. Okay, I got the hookups. Sure.
We'll be announcing the time for the live podcast via Twitter.
So think about your questions.
Yes.
What are we doing? Going all Westeros on everybody's ass.
Be ready, because nobody does the draw.
Tyrion, House Greyjoy, House Baratheon, House Bolton.
House Tully.
Lannister, whatever you like, but nobody doesn't like us. Nobody.
Chopping off your fucking head ass. Yeah, that's how we're doing.
We got ice. And we got Valerian steel. So folks, again, before we go, I just want to say thank you to our fans and our haters. We do. We do. I certainly do. And for commenting and your serious questions. I know sometimes you ask questions and we plan to get to them, and then somehow we sort of round about this thing.
We will.
But we will get to them, when it's done. So, particularly after the US Open, we have lots so much to come. And what time?
Good night.
Oh, I just want to let you all know that there is a Althea Gibson documentary out in the winds. It's out there. It's gonna be on PBS on September 5th. This week, on the 25th of August, is Althea Gibson's birthday, and there's a lot of celebration going on in New York.
Yes, stay tuned. We have something very special.
So just want to put that out in the wind, and it was an amazing. So just want to let you know that. If you have any questions or concern, don't forget to tweet us, email us, and thank you.
If we like, we'll answer.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Don't forget, you can be rude, you can be controversial, but you cannot be offensive. Okay? Cannot be offensive because we were trolls. And
we will find you because we know where you live.
Have a good day, good night. And don't forget, don't listen to us on the treadmill. You might hurt yourself. Have a good night. This is the other guy. The guy who's there. Yes. Good night.